here in Mumbai and have a chance this morning to talk about AI and mostly to celebrate all the AI and the AI solutions that are being built by people in this country, in this state, and everywhere. And it's just exciting to be able to come back and see the progress, even year on year, that I see in action. To us, it's always about empowering people and organizations. So when we talk about even new technology, platforms, it comes down to how is it being really used to empower an institution, an organization. I'm going to talk about, in fact, Crime OS that the Chief Minister was here, really sponsored and made happen in this state so that even every citizen of this state can benefit. And that's the type of innovation we want to see in any place. But the key thing for us is to be grounded in the fact that the frontier of what is possible is changing, right? I mean, that's the exciting part for any of us, is when we talk about technology, it allows us to reimagine what we can now do, whether it's in our state, whether it is in our organization, whether it's in our lives, right? So the ability to move the frontier. So we always start there, right? With the customer experience. Now you can think about and reimagine it, whether it's the employee experience, whether it's the operational efficiency, whether it's the rate of innovation. If you're a drug company, can you really get through clinical trials faster? Can we get more new drugs out there? That, to me, is ultimately moving of the frontier that we are all chasing. And to do that, though, you kind of have to embrace a new approach even, right? What worked previously. In some sense, you have to do this hard job of unlearning and learning what's possible, right? Sometimes we sort of pattern match too much from what worked in the previous era may not necessarily work. In fact, there's a new frontier. So when I think about that, it starts with that mindset, freeing ourselves that there's a new approach. For example, when it comes to AI, right, if you look at even a building of an AI solution, you don't start with a spec. You actually start with the test, right? I mean, when there's fancy new words, people talk about evaluations, right? You create these rubrics to do evals on a particular outcome, then you create a learning system, then you hill climb on that learning system. Guess what? That's kind of literally inverting the process of building an information system. You start from the outcome, you create a robust eval, and then you spec versus going left to right. But the key thing is that means you got to pick up new skills, all of us. And in order to pick up the new skills, you kind of need a new tool chain that you are using every day. And to be able to then have all of your data that is being brought to harness this new tool chain, this new skill set with the new mindset. That's really the way we want to approach it. So to facilitate this, right, this can't just be an abstract framework. This has got to be an everyday practice for all of us. It's an information worker today or a software developer. All of us are going to be using essentially the same approach. To realize that, we've built a tech stack, and I want to just literally walk up this walk down this tech stack. So starting with the experience layer, where we have taken this idea that, let's bring this AI co-pilot right where you work, right? You may be in Outlook, you may be in Word, you may be in Excel, you may be in Teams, whatever you are, doing your work. How do we bring the co-pilot there? And think of co-pilot, though, as not just a request response, right? That's what we've been doing now nearly for 2 years, right? We know now that, hey, we can ask it any question. It'll come back with a better answer than anything that we have previously experienced in, let's call it, an information retrieval search type experience. But now we have agents. In fact, think of co-pilot as your browser for the agentic web. In fact, right inside of Copilot, you have very powerful agents built in. Like one such agent is your researcher. And researcher with computer use is a real breakthrough. It's literally like having 24/7 someone very sophisticated who is your research assistant who can go take any topic, and then because they have a computer, right? So they just are not like, think of it as not a single shot, like go and bring back information after thinking. The researcher can use a computer to do research, right? So it's not only you have a computer, your researcher has a computer. So that's the way to conceptualize. Same thing with analyst. So I can load a whole bunch of Excel spreadsheets and give it to an analyst, and it's kind of like giving it to your data science department, right? Or the data scientist. So it's, again, having a 24/7 data analyst who can then go give you insights. And lastly, it's like one of the things that I'm very, very excited about is what happened in software development is going to happen with Excel and Excel Agent, right? So I, in fact, had a chance to participate recently in the Excel World Championship. By the way, ESPN even broadcasts Excel Championships. We have an honest-to-God, great way to sort of celebrate the Excel prowess. And so I was able to participate in it, their digital challenge, using this Excel Agent. It is so cool to be able to see. And I worked on Excel all my life, essentially. And to be able to sort of see how the agent mode understands deeply the entire semantics of a spreadsheet, right? So it's not just a one-shot, I created a great model, but it's the ability to iterate on a pretty sophisticated model continuously using this agent mode, just like how we do in software engineering. So it's just exciting to see this, and also it's really, to me, at the end of the day, all these tools are like the new Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Office. Like they're as simple as that. And they're in the hands of everyone here, and I see it being used like that, right? So no one is sort of, praying at the altar of these tools. They're just using them. And to me, to see the proliferation, the diffusion is probably faster than anything I've seen, right? I've come back to India, I've come back to Mumbai throughout every generational shift in technology, starting in the early 90s. But when I see now the rate of pace of change, there's no difference, quite frankly. I could be in any city, anywhere in the world, and to be able to see all of this applications just being broadly diffused. To show you some of this in action, let me invite up on stage my colleague Zoe. Zoe, take it away.
Thanks, Satya. I'm Zoe, a product marketer on the Microsoft 365 Copilot team. And like all of you, I start my day commuting in and preparing for the day ahead. For that, I'm going to use Copilot on my mobile. Hey Copilot, what's on my agenda for today?
You've got a few things lined up today. First, there is an AI Tour India meeting that started earlier this morning. Then, at 11 a.m., there's a Contoso sales call. Later in the afternoon, you've got a Team Sync at 2 p.m.
Thanks, Copilot. And has my manager sent me any emails?
Yes, you've got a few emails from Nicole. Just yesterday, she reminded the team about a Friday mixer happening in the common area. She also mentioned that finalizing the monthly business review should be a high priority. She also...
Thanks, Copilot. Copilot doesn't just have my work context. It knows who I am, what I work on, and who I work with. It's why I use Copilot. It's a true AI assistant. Now, I want to take a look at my manager's ask around that MBR updates from my V team. And you'll see I'm actually using GPT 5.2, which we released yesterday, and it's immediately available to all Microsoft 365 customers. Yeah, it's exciting. I know. What I love about GPT 5.2 is it's allowing Copilot to be even better at finding the most relevant resources. So my responses are very contextually relevant, and I'm able to take quick action. And it makes a very visual output. Now, only Copilot is able to combine this constant modelization with your work data to provide the most relevant response. Now, I want to go and update my existing monthly business review document, but I want to change it with my November data. For that, I'm going to use agent mode in Word. Agent mode allows the agent to edit, to draft, to format the document, all with natural language, but it still keeps me in complete control. And I can see it's starting to look across all of that work data, right? My emails, my meetings, my team chats, my files. Now that normally takes me hours to do. I have to find the right information, I have to sift through it, but now you'll see the agent is actually actively applying it on the left-hand side. And you'll see that it's actually leaving parts alone that haven't changed month over month, like our mission, but rather using this to update everything and keep me on par with exactly the November updates. Now, last, I want to make sure I understand our team budget for the next fiscal year. I'm going to again go to Excel and I'm going to turn on agent mode and ask it to get me a little bit more aware of what's been spent, what's uncommitted, what's at risk, and to build a visual dashboard so it's easy for me to understand my data. Agent mode in Excel natively speaks Excel, just like Satya said, so it's not going to create a random number that I don't know where it came from. It will actually build formulas right in my spreadsheet, right where my budget already exists. And it will even create native objects like charts and tables, things that I can continue to manipulate. It also walks through everything it's doing on the right-hand side. So that way, say my manager, Nicole, comes to me and asks, how did I come to my conclusion? Well, Copilot actually helps me understand what it did. That way, I can continue to work with it. I can also ask agent mode to do simple things like conditional formatting, which you'll see, highlighting things in red that maybe are at risk. All of these things to continue to work with Copilot and agent mode in order to get a better understanding. And you can see it's created this dashboard live. If I click in, I can see these rich formulas it's actually built to give me an answer, the conditional formatting to highlight what's at risk in red, and a native graph that actually I'm able to manipulate even further should I want. Now Copilot, it hasn't just made me better and faster at my job, it's helped me make more impact. And I can't imagine working without it. Back to you, Satya.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Whenever I see that Excel demo, I like to think about it that, you know, when I had hair, I loved Excel, and when I don't have hair, I love Excel. I tell you, it's one of those generational things that just gets better and better in spite of my follicle challenges. You know, to me, if you sort of take that experience layer, one of the things that's super important in the age of AI is to think about your data as one of the most strategic assets. But you got to bring that data contextually to the AI. In fact, people talk about it as context engineering. And I think it's a good term for it, because in fact, a lot of what needs to be done, both at this engineering level and even I would say business decision-making level, is to think about not the silos of the previous generation, but the contextual way you can feed intelligence with data. So to that end, for example, underneath Zoe's demo is perhaps the most important database in any company that uses Microsoft 365 today, right? If you think about it, the tacit knowledge inside any corporation, any organization, is the knowledge of people, their relationships with other people, their work artifacts, whether they're spreadsheets, documents, their conversations in email, meetings in Teams, to be able to relate all that, because that's where the tacit knowledge of an organization is. And it's in that database. And so fundamentally what we have transformed that is into work IQ, right? So when we say work IQ, it's the stateful part underneath M365 that now can be brought to bear in the context of any AI solution you want to build. Not just Copilot, any agent you build out there, you can now use work IQ. Think about that. The second thing we've done is, in fact, one of the other ubiquitous tools all over is Excel and Power BI. So that means you've taken real great pain over decades building these semantic models to do analysis. And now with Fabric and Fabric IQ, you can take all of that data, along with all the operational data, and make it available to your AI. And then the last one sort of really makes it all come together. So what we've done with Foundry IQ is said what people describe as retrieval augmented generation, right? So one of the biggest things that we have done in the last couple of years as we build these AI solutions is to do retrieval of data. And we have now built the next generation retrieval system, essentially. It does more than retrieval. It in fact plans and executes and reasons that plan, over that plan on how to retrieve relevant data from Work IQ, Fabric IQ, and any other blob storage, unstructured storage, or what have you, and bring it in the context of your AI application. So that's what this IQ layer is. In fact, it's probably one of the more salient yet important pieces on how anyone who builds any AI solution going forward will be most successful, right? In fact, direct correlation between the evaluations or the sort of performance of your models will be how good is your data being brought. Just because in some sense models are becoming, quite frankly, a commodity, right? So there is lots and lots of models out there which are very, very capable. The question is, how do you marshal that capability? I think it'll come down to having a great experience layer where people can discover the agents you're building, and having a fantastic sort of capability around context engineering. So the next layer for us is really about, now that we have an experience layer, we have the data set up, let's build agents, right? And the beauty of building agents, quite frankly, is like building spreadsheets or writing a document. It's not more mystical than that. In fact, Agent Builder that's built right into Copilot is like saying, hey, doc new, right? Or spreadsheet new. And so we start there. In fact, now we have an app builder. So in fact, Bill's big thing always, ever since I joined Microsoft in the early 90s, was why the heck do I have a difference between a document, a website, and an application? Like, his concept was there should just be one thing, and I should be able to transform. And guess what? We finally have it, which is App Builder. You can go in and just specify the app you want to build, and it'll build it. It's kind of like a document, it's kind of like a website, it's kind of like an app, right? So that's the power. Then Copilot Studio is another way to think of it as build out of your agent. So again, as using a natural language prompt, you can go build an agent, you can ground it in some data, and there you have it. You have an agent. And so we are building out Foundry, in fact, without any cliffs, to be able to then say, okay, we now have agents. Can I even orchestrate multiple agents and build full agentic systems? Microsoft Foundry allows you to do that as well, because the multi-agent frameworks are there. All of the tools that you need in order to be able to build multi-agentic systems are there. We also now, of course, have all these models. We have 11,000 models. You say, why do I need 11,000 models? In fact, even for me this week, it is a great reminder of why having this diversity of models is going to really make this world a better place. In fact, we launched and we announced in Foundry as an open weight model, a model called GigaTime. There was an article published in Cell. And quite frankly, it gave me goosebumps when I sort of read about it and learned about it, because it's work Microsoft did with both the University of Washington as well as Providence hospitals. And what it does is, if you think about the challenge of someone with cancer, today, when you sort of try to understand whether immunotherapy will work, you kind of have to model the immune system, essentially. And so there's a test for that. The problem with that test is it's a complex test, it takes a long time, and it costs a lot of money. And so what this particular model does is, it does a simulation of the test. So you can literally take a simple pathology of the tumor, right? So that's literally like a microscope image of a tumor, and then use essentially Gen AI to fill in. So it will do the simulation of what is the basically spatial proteomics of the immune system and say you now can have a test. So I was thinking about it, right? With that model, that means some entrepreneur in Mumbai is going to pick it up and say, you know what, I'm going to build an entire sort of simulation lab in silico and make it available to every city in Maharashtra and in this country, right? So every hospital can start doing what now today is done in the few tier 1 hospitals and costs a lot of money. That's, in some sense, when you're playing the game, sometimes you forget why you're playing it. This is why we are playing it. We are playing it so that we can actually use this innovation to make a real difference in the world. So it's exciting to see how this is all coming together. Now, we're bringing, as I said, all this together in this tool chain. This tool chain is going to become what you will use. In fact, GitHub is where you would start interfacing with all of this app stack, right? So if you think of the new app server as Foundry, the tools are Visual Studio and VS Code and GitHub. And talking about GitHub, it's really exciting to see the growth of GitHub in India. It's tremendous. By 2030, India is expected to be the #1 country in terms of GitHub participation. It's tremendous to see not only just the participation, but the ambition level of the projects coming out of India, just continuing to improve and get better. And so it's fantastic to see that. Now, we're building out GitHub, by the way, as Agent HQ. So what I mean by that is you go to GitHub and you will have access to all the coding models that you could use in the context of your repo. And so that's the idea. It's not about sort of having one model, but you have your code repo, just like Work IQ. Think of this as Code IQ, right? So that's kind of really it. Like your code is your most important resource. You want that. And then you want many, many models over the years to sort of keep working and creating more of that repo and the repo features. And so that's what, and by the way, the form factors, right? If people say, oh, wow, will I only use autonomous agents? Will I use only an IDE with agent mode? Will I use a command line? Guess what? I use all three all day long, right? That's it. Like the form factors of how I interface with AI are going to remain essentially always some IDE, some CLI interface, and a new chat interface, if you will. And that, I think, is the way you will interact with it. But to show you all of this in its full glory, I wanted to invite up on stage my colleague Karan. Karan, take it away.
Thanks, Satya. A few weeks ago at GitHub Universe, we announced Agent HQ, which is an agentic platform that unites every agent, making them native to the GitHub flow you're already familiar with. So let me show you a demo of what that looks like. All right. So I have a demo app here that's a storefront for some of the nostalgic toys which might have been common in many of our households. However, as you can see, the app doesn't really have any search or filter options, and I want to add that functionality. So I have my code repo here on GitHub. With the new agents panel, I can now kick off an agentic task from anywhere on GitHub by just describing the task and delegating it to the Copilot coding agent. So Copilot starts working on it in the background. I can assign a task to Copilot from anywhere I work, on github.com, in VS Code, in the CLI, or even on my mobile. All right, while working across multiple repositories and tasks, I have delegated many of these tasks to Copilot, and I want to know what's going on with it. So now I can see all of my agent sessions in a single mission control view, both ongoing as well as completed ones over here. Not just that, I can also start off a task from right here while using custom agents that I have created or have been built by partners. So these custom agents are domain experts which extend the Copilot coding agent across all of your tools and workflows. All right, so let's dive into the session that we just kicked off and see what Copilot is working on. So I can see the progress of Copilot here on the left and also the draft PR on the right. So I'm a developer. So which means I am still in control. So I can even steer a ongoing session midway to have Copilot work in a slightly different direction. So this will take a few minutes, so I'll let Copilot continue working on that in the background. But I want to show you one of the agent sessions I kicked off earlier for the same feature. So I can see it's completed, and then there's a summary as well, and nice screenshots as well. Thanks to the Playwright MCP. I can also take a look at the files it has changed over here, and also ask it for any change if I need right over here. All right, amidst all of this, if I want to have a chat with Copilot to ask it something or so, I can jump into Copilot chat right here as well. So Copilot provides me a choice of various different models from different providers, including GPT 5.2, which just launched last night and already available on GitHub Copilot. That's how fast it is. And all right, not just that, I can also bring in my own models from Microsoft Foundry. So I have a few models that I've deployed on Microsoft Foundry, including a couple of them that I had fine-tuned myself, and I have brought in all of these models to Copilot by connecting them to my deployments in Foundry. So now I can actually use all of these models directly within Copilot, be it on GitHub or VS Code. Now, I was just doing something, and I fine-tuned one of the model just for fun to see if it can converse almost like a developer, in Mumbai. So I just asked it something simple, saying, "What is Kubernetes? ये pods nodes कुछ समझ में नहीं आता है." And this is coming, and it says simple language में समझो, this is what containers are, this is what Kubernetes is, and it's so awesome, right? Because this is coming from my own model that's deployed on Foundry, which I can use in Copilot, right? That's pretty awesome. All right, so speaking of deployments and everything, I had also created a PR to implement a new product detail page, sometime earlier, and I can see that Copilot has already reviewed my PR and also left a few comments on it. So let's take a look at some of these suggestions it has left, like this one here, which speaks about DB connection pool exhaustion, or this one right here, which speaks about type safety. So this is the new agentic Copilot code review, which combines LLM detections, tool calling, and also deterministic scans that help you with smarter reviews. Not just that, I can actually ask Copilot to help me implement all of these suggestions in a single PR, which will again kick off an agentic task for me. All right, we all know how important security is, right? So thankfully, I'm also a security admin for this account on GitHub. So with the new integration between Microsoft Defender for Cloud and GitHub Advanced Security, I can now specifically filter for runtime risk issues in production that have been identified by Defender, all right, right here. So that's really nice, and a campaign to address all of these alerts was created, and oops, I see some of them in my repo as well, but not to worry, because Copilot can also help me fix these security issues. So I can just select all of these and then say assign to Copilot, and then Copilot will go off and then create a PR to address all of these security issues. All right, so now we have multiple different agents working on different tasks in the background, but I want to write some code myself as well. So here is the agent session for the search and filter function that we were looking at earlier, and I want to make some changes to it. So I can continue iterating with this by opening this directly in VS Code, which will open up the session for me. So I can either check out the branch or even apply the changes directly in my current branch, and I can continue working. So I will open up the familiar chat interface here in VS Code, and I'll switch to my agent mode. Probably use one of the models I deployed from Foundry, and I will ask it to make one small change, which is I also want an autocomplete feature for the search bar as well. So this can continue working in the background, and you would have seen that just like on github.com, I also have a mission control view in VS Code as well, where I can see all of my local agents, my cloud agents, my background agents, which is running as well. All right, so I want to implement a new feature. The toys are great, but I want to make a bundle of it and almost gift them as a play box. I know many of you would love that as well, right? But I need to plan how to go about implementing it. So with the new plan agent in VS Code, I can ask Copilot to create an implementation plan and also keep iterating with it until I am confident and ready with it. So I had created one of this plan earlier as well, which I'll just open up right over here. So you can see it gives me a detailed plan for all the steps that needs to be accomplished. So whenever I'm ready, I can kind of continue coding this, or I can hand it off to an agent as well to work on it in the background. So I can hand it off to the CLI agent, and I will say include the changes, that's fine, and this will start working on this agent in the background. All right, so some of this will take a bit of time to complete. So meanwhile, when all of this tasks would have been completed, let's see how our app would look like. So it will look like something like that, with all of the filters that are there, and also my search and autocomplete feature, and I can go start playing my brick game. All right. So in the past few minutes, we went from so many different ideas, planned them, and also coded them using Copilot coding agents in the cloud on github.com, in VS Code, in background using CLI agents, had that code reviewed with the Copilot code review agent, and also implemented the security fixes using Copilot autofix agent. All the while having ability to look at all of my agent sessions, steer them in the single mission control view on GitHub or even in VS Code. And that is Agent HQ. Thank you. Back to you, Satya.
Thank you so much, Karan. And so, when you look at all of these tools that Karan showed, what does it do? It inspires you. So recently we had Thanksgiving in the United States, so we had some time off. And so what does one do when you have time off? You build. And so I built an app. And so this is, by the way, this is my regular laptop you are seeing. So this is, in fact, my Azure subscription. And this is, in fact, my app that's deployed right now, I think, in Canada Central. This is my repo. This is my GitHub repo. So this is my code. In fact, the way my standard sort of way I work is I have a Windows 365 set up, so it travels with me everywhere. And then, of course, I use GitHub. And then I use code spaces. So this is, I think it'll show up with the code space here. So it's kind of like turtles all the way down, right? So I have my code space running on GitHub, running on Windows 365. So that's kind of my virtual environment that I travel with. And of course, like as Karan was showing, every morning I get up, and my favorite place to go is here, right? Which is I go to my repo and I go to my Copilot and start assigning it tasks. Like every day there's some multiple agents I kick off. Like this morning I said, please upgrade this entire app to GPT-5.2, right? So and it's actually done, and when I'm done with my keynote and I'm on a flight back, I'll kind of get there on my flight Wi-Fi and be able to actually look at the PR and push it, if you will. In fact, I'll test it once in my code spaces and then I'll commit. But that's, in fact, it shows you the power of how you can literally start really taking simple tasks to big updates and start powering through them. So what did I build? So what I built is essentially a new deep research tool. You know, one of my life's ambition is to figure out how to get a job in the Copilot team, and so I'm preparing for it. I'm sort of desperately trying how to get competent enough to get hired, and so therefore I said, okay, let me build a new, more sophisticated deep research application. And so the thing that I did is, you know, I said, look, there are all these models available. So why don't I create decision frameworks that work on top of the model? And one of those decision frameworks is Andrej Karpathy, who's a famous AI researcher, came up with this LLM council, he called it, right? So the idea is you'll have, like a selection committee, you'll have multiple members of the committee, right? So in this case, I can have GPT 5.1 or 5.2 today, Claude, Gemini, Llama, you know, Grok, whatever, right? Pick your favorite selection committee. Then you elect even a chairman, like you can say, who is the chairman? Is it Claude or Gemini or, you know, GPT or what have you? Pick your chair and then go ahead and issue a query and ask it to do stuff. And then another one I did was DxO. This is a pretty cool decision framework. This comes out of healthcare. In fact, we first implemented it. In fact, we've implemented it in healthcare, where you have just different roles. So, for example, one role is a lead researcher who does, let's think of it as exhaustive, breadth-first research. There's a critical reviewer. And by the way, you can assign different models to these different roles. So I have a lead researcher that happens to be Claude, a critical reviewer that happens to be a GPT. And what does the critical reviewer do? That particular role finds method problems, right? Say recency bias or period bias, whatever are the issues which are cognitive biases. Then you can have domain expert, data analyst, so different roles. And in fact, when we applied DxO in healthcare, it turned out that having multiple roles work together in a multi-agent system outperformed any single model. Right? It's intuitive, right? Why not have all the smart people working with you on a particular decision versus one? And so that was DxO. Then I implemented even another one called Ensemble. And the idea with Ensemble is you sort of fire off parallel queries, anonymize the responses, so there is no bias even in selection, and then synthesize, right? In fact, last night I said, well, let's even implement a regular old debate. So this is a new feature I added, and thank God it's showed up here. And basically think of it as chain of debate. In fact, I think of all of these as, instead of thinking of them as chain of thought, thinking of all of this as chain of debate. And I said, let's actually have a full-on debate. So the bottom line here is, you can have different formats of, you know, even debates. You can have pros and cons, SWOT. You can have risk versus impact, counterfactual versus devil's advocate, right? So you can even pick your framework. You can have critiques, so each person makes an argument, everybody else critiques. You can have multiple rounds of it. So I was just I had a lot of time, I guess, in my hotel room yesterday. But so I went on and added features like this. So I said, okay, let's have, oh, by the way, I even added, because I was runtime of agents we have built called Agent 365. And Agent 365 takes our identity management, our Defender, our things like Purview and data loss prevention, all of that, and brings it to the agent world. Just like what we have done for end user computing, if you will, we're now doing it for agents. Because if people are going to build powerful agents like the one I built, you want full compliance, you want full visibility, you want full governance of it. And that's what the Agent 365 does, right? Because you can't just run around and say, I have thousands and hundreds of thousands of agents without that security and governance and visibility. And that's really what Agent 365 delivers. You know, the beauty of all this is there is significant momentum, significant ambition level to translate this ultimately into people doing unbelievable things. So this morning I had a chance to meet with, for example, the folks from Adani Cement, who are really doing this invoice to payment and reduce something that took 20 plus days to 4 hours. I had a chance to meet the team from Aditya Birla, where they took their mobile app that's doing complex products and sort of said, okay, here's a conversational interface that just makes it simpler for them to be able to interact. I had a chance to meet with the folks at LTI Mindtree. They're doing a complete wall-to-wall transformation using things from Copilot to Copilot Studio to a Foundry to do every business process and re-look at it from an AI-first perspective. Mankind, it's a beautiful use case of really putting that a power of AI and the expertise in the hands of the people who are the medical reps who are visiting doctors in rural areas to be able to make sure that the medical rep is confident in answering the questions and then improving care outcomes. Yes Bank has done a fantastic job of really the invoice turnaround times, right? So they're also doing a wall-to-wall transformation with 40 plus use cases, but really seeing the ROI in each one of these examples. Now, one of the chances I had again was to meet with the team that built this new agentic system called the Maha Crime OS. So this was sponsored by the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, who is here with us. And it was really great to meet both the SP as well as the people in the team, and in fact the investigative team, and the pride they had in being able to use this system to deliver sort of justice to a citizen in Nagpur who was unfortunately a victim of a crime. But the ability for them to use this agentic system to speed up the time to justice was just fantastic to see. So let's go ahead and play the video.
Today, policing is all about cybercrime. It is all about financial frauds, and it is global.
Nagpur Rural receives about 30 cybercrime reports every single day. So you can imagine the kind of influx of cybercrime reporting that's taking place.
तो मैं विड्रॉ करना चाह रही थी, तो विड्रॉ जहाँ डेली के शेयर्स आते थे, टिप्स आते थे, मैंने अमाउंट पे भी किया, बट स्टिल और कुछ ना कुछ चार्जेस पे चार्जेस वो डिमांड करते गए.
त्या आल्यात नीतू मॅडम आणि त्यांनी त्यांच्या केस बद्दल सांगितलं, पण असे केसेस हँडल करायला असे टूल्स किंवा असे काही इक्विपमेंट जे असतात त्या थ्रू आम्ही मग ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी करू शकतो.
Mahacrime OS serves as an investigation co-pilot. You're able to have an agent that is able to detect the patterns, able to make sense of it, and have it speak to the direction of the investigation itself. The Maharashtra government through Marvel has collaborated with both Microsoft as well as CyberEye in terms of adapting Crime OS for the needs of Maharashtra.
Ethical and responsible AI for public good is our motto. And Microsoft has provided us a very safe and advanced platform.
महाक्राईम OS AI जे आहे काम जे आहे फास्ट करून देते, म्हणजे पुरावे जास्त आम्हाला भेटतात, म्हणजे कमी वेळ गेलेला नसते तर त्याला आरोपीला पुरावे नष्ट करायला वेळ भेटत नाही.
Mahacrime OS AI is built using multiple technologies. Underlying this is Azure and AI services through Microsoft Foundry. We're also using Defender for cloud and Microsoft Fabric. Mahacrime OS AI, the turnaround times of investigations are decreased by 80%. Almost 100% of investigations are getting digitally registered and investigators are acting upon.
So that makes me really proud that we're able to adapt emerging technology to fulfill the needs of several millions of people across the state and make government function much more effectively and transparently for them.
If AI is properly used in governance, we can make the lives of people easier.
और पुलिस अपना काम कर रही है, वो जगह जगह पे जाकर के आरोपी पकड़ के ला रही है, बस तो वो एक होप है मैम कि वो आएगा.
लोकांच्या चेहऱ्यावर जे खुशी, जे हास्य येते त्यांचे पैसे परत भेटल्यानंतर ते आम्हाला खूप समाधान देते आणि पुढील काम करायला प्रेरणा देते.
It's a great example, quite frankly, of using the power of all this technology to help citizens of this country. And more importantly, it also sort of is a great example of how quickly this technology is diffusing, right? I mean, if you would have thought about any previous era of tech and the rate at which it would come to sort of impact in a context like this versus where we are. And that, I think, is the opportunity in front of us. So it's fantastic to see. So the last piece I want to talk about is powering all of this, of course, ultimately is the infrastructure, right? You've got to run essentially a token factory. And when it comes to token factory, one of the most important things is this one simple equation, yet very, very important, which is performance per tokens is all about tokens per dollar or per rupee per watt, right? You have to optimize. And this, by the way, is going to be the most important thing, right? Whether any country, any community, any state that is able to sort of really have the infrastructure that delivers this efficient frontier of the token factory is just going to have more abundance of tokens that can then be deployed to drive the productivity, which directly is going to be correlated to the GDP growth in the economy. And so to that end, we are all in, right? We are building out Azure as the world's computer. We are investing in building out Azure in India. We now have multiple regions. In fact, in Maharashtra, we have a central India region in Pune. We have the West India in Mumbai. We have South India in Chennai. We have a DC in partnership with Jio. We're also very, very excited about sort of our new South Central region that is going to come out in Hyderabad next year, which is going to be the next big data center region, and we'll keep expanding. And to that end, I'm really, by the way, the region in Hyderabad is going to be 100% renewable, right? So that's the other cool thing, is we are really focusing on sustainability as well. And to us, we are also building all of this with making sure that there's real sovereignty. Because after all, at the end of the day, this is not just about bringing the capabilities, but it's also ensuring that there is real sovereignty controls. And so for that, we have a full set of options, right? You can use public cloud. You can use public cloud with sovereign controls. That means you have, you're the key management locally. You can use confidential computing in concert with it. So that means when the data is being processed, even in use, at rest, in flight, it's encrypted and the keys are with you. We also have the private cloud option. We also obviously have a region that's operated by local partners like Jio or NIC and others. And so we have a full set of options. So think of it as a portfolio that you can then use that portfolio for the different workloads you have and have the assurance of your own sovereignty and control over it. We're also doing, in fact, sovereign data control. So Copilot and all of the things we talked about are all being locally processed. So none of the data is going outside of the data boundary of India. And so we're very excited about sort of all of these options being available. Now, one other point I would also make, since we talked about sort of crime OS and what have you, is one of the biggest challenges is for any online infrastructure is cyber and cyber risk and cyber security. And it's an intelligence game, right? And ultimately, whoever has the best intelligence is going to be able to defend you the best. And so Microsoft sees trillions of signals every day. We see every nation state and every cyber criminal everywhere in the world. And we are able to harness that to protect. In fact, in the demo Karan showed was pretty cool, right? Which is he basically was able to take your production sort of instance, have Defender check in real time what are all the vulnerabilities, and then have you even go back and fix those vulnerabilities. And that's not a static list. That is a dynamic list that is sort of being monitoring essentially what is the cyber activity and the cyber attack sort of graph. And so to me, really thinking about sovereignty and cyber resilience are two sides of risk, right? So when you think about even you managing your risks, you want to think about it. Because if you get disconnected, you have a sovereign everything, except it doesn't have the best intelligence, it's sort of, you're going to be very, very vulnerable. And so therefore, it's a much more nuanced discussion that needs real thought. And then at the end of the day, it's not a one-time decision, it's a continuous monitoring of that portfolio of risk and opportunity. So to that end, we are very, very committed to this country, and therefore one of the things that I was excited to have a chance is meet the Prime Minister earlier this week and even announce the biggest announcement. It's our biggest investment in Asia, 17.5 billion, which builds on top of the 3 billion we announced earlier in the year, in fact. And so we are obviously very excited to bring all of this infrastructure to empower ultimately all the citizens of this country, all the developers of this country. And so that's where I want to close out with, which is to us, all this is about empowering every person and every organization in India to achieve more. To us, whether it is, things like GigaTime, which allow us to think about making what is personalized care or even precision oncology possible in every tier 2 city in this country, because an entrepreneur here will take an advance like that and parlay it into health outcomes that matter. Or the Maha Crime OS that's going to deliver the justice to someone who was a victim of some crime in Nagpur. To us, ultimately, that's why we do what we do. All of us working together to realize the opportunity ahead of us in this age of AI is an exciting time. I hope you all have high ambition for what you can do. We sure do for you all. Thank you all very, very much.
India has more than 400 million unorganized workers. They are earning only day-to-day wages and not getting any benefits. We need to shift the people from the informal to the formal sectors. That would help us to develop our economy. Through the initiative of eShram, the National Unorganized Workers Database was developed, and we are able to provide those workers with social security benefits, also giving them access to the National Career Service Portal.
NCS is a one-stop solution for job seekers, employers, training providers and counselors.
We have AI-based matching between the job seeker skills and the employers. So any informal worker can go to the NCS portal and match with the right employer. NCS has an AI resume builder, and if a person is lacking certain skills, the AI tool helps them to develop those skills by giving them recommendations.
We were expecting millions of unorganized workers to register in this system. So we wanted to have scalability, reliability and security. Microsoft Azure met all these qualifications. In addition to that, Azure OpenAI has become a game changer for unorganized workers.
पहले कंपनी में काम करता था ठेकेदार की तरफ से, तो मैं एनसीएस पे गया, वहाँ मैंने जॉब का रिक्वायरमेंट गिरा, तो मैं जॉब मुझे ड्राइवर की मिल गई और 50% ज़्यादा है। दिल्ली में कंपनी है ट्रांसपोर्ट की तरफ से, मतलब मैं बहुत कुछ कर सकता हूँ। अभी मुझे बहुत कुछ मतलब इससे सीखने को मिल रहा है और ये लाइफ सेटल हो सकती है इससे मेरी।
Around 150 million workers are now on the NCS portal. We are also now trying to bring in more and more schemes to benefit these workers. AI is supporting us to provide opportunities for the individuals and youth of the country.
Please welcome President of Microsoft India, Puneet Chandok.
Good afternoon. Don't leave the all yet, folks. The energy is just building up, so if you could come back, and I promise you we'll raise the energy up once again. So how's the crowd feeling, guys? How's the energy? Let's pump it up. Let's take it up a notch, guys. Let's take it up a notch, and a big thank you to Satya for pumping us up. Love the way he framed the India opportunity. And I think the commitments that we're making to India are not just capital, folks. That's our vote of confidence for India. That's our commitment to making India truly AI first. And India is at such an extraordinary moment now, folks. We've proved to the world what India can achieve, what a nation can achieve with digital public infrastructure. And now India is standing at the beginning of something even bigger, something much bigger, India's AI moment. India's moment to become truly frontier AI. And this is going to be India's AI century, and we as Microsoft are so proud to stand with India and make that a reality. I will start where Satya left us, our mission. We succeed when the world around us succeeds, folks. We succeed when India succeeds. For us at Microsoft, it's never just about technology, it's about what technology can do for every Indian, for each one of you. That's what we come to work for every day. And India's advantage will not just come from innovation, we'll obviously innovate like nobody else does, but also rapid diffusion of AI from classrooms to boardrooms. And we as Microsoft are so excited, we want to be co-pilots to India's AI transformation, and we will make that happen. So before I get to how we'll make this mission a reality, I thought I'll show you a little bit of how the world feels right now. The world seems unfamiliar. The world feels different. And if you remember, and I went to co-pilot, I said, give me a sense of the last 20 years, how the movies played out in the world. But do this from the lens of books and authors. And this is what Copilot pulled up. If you remember, Thomas Friedman wrote The World is Flat. 5th April 2005 is when that book came out. The world is flat, and we generally felt the world is truly flat. And code was moving across borders, factories are humming, the world seemed very different. To today, when Yuval Harari is saying that never before has the world looked so clueless. Fareed Zakaria saying democracies look different. The world is recalibrating, folks. The world is rearranging itself. There are two forces at play. There's, of course, geopolitics that we're all trying to get our heads around, but also AI. We have the largest infrastructure build out in the history of humankind happening today across the world, and even in India, as Microsoft, we're building our largest hyperscale presence. But the largest AI infrastructure build out of the century is happening. And deep learning with these models that Satya spoke about is a gift that keeps giving, so these models are getting smarter and better every day. The challenge now is not to fight this world, which refuses to play by the rules that we are used to, but to understand it, to navigate it. And when you're in uncharted territory, when you're in unfamiliar territory, what do? You bet where the ball's going, not where the ball is. You bet where the river is flowing, not where the river is today. You predict where the world's going to go. So with that, I'm going to go out on a limb today, and I'll give you my predictions on what's going to happen with AI and what's going to happen with the world. And I'll give you my 5 predictions. I might be wrong, but I will provoke you, and I will make you think differently. Number 1, unmetered intelligence. Sam Harris, one of my favorite authors, had this quote that I always go back to. He said, intelligence is a beautiful property given only to humans. Intelligence is a beautiful property given only to humans. Unfortunately, he was wrong. For the first time in the history of mankind, we have potentially the ability to manufacture intelligence with AI. We're entering a new reality, folks, where compute or log of compute will become cognition. Imagine a world where intelligence moves from something which is scarce and expensive to something that's abundant and it's available almost on tap. This is a new reality. You don't put intelligence to work by hiring people, getting a team, getting a project manager, and waiting for 6 months. You buy intelligence like there's a socket on the wall, you plug in, and you get intelligence. That's the world we're moving into. So that's my first prediction, which is the world will soon have access to intelligence on tap or unmetered intelligence. And this will change everything about how we run businesses, because every business is a bundle of intelligence, bundle of expertise. Number 2, we will not be alone in the workforce. We're used to physical colleagues. We're all physical colleagues to each other. But this next generation of agents that we're building, which are autonomous, they can go through unstructured and structured data, goal seek on your behalf, and come back and say, hey boss, I've got something useful for you. Those are the agents we're building. That's how we're making these models useful for you. And these agents have 3 things. They have perception. They see everything you see. They have cognition. They have some intelligence. And they have agency. They act on your behalf with your permission, but not your involvement. So that's how we're bringing them together. And again, I can promise you now, in the next few years or quarters, each of us will be agent bosses. Each of us will delegate work to agents. We will not just admire other people's AI stories. We will have agents working for us. So digital colleagues will join the workforce and amplify us. Number 3, and this is what I call the inefficiency economy. Today, if you look at what's happening in the world, your lawyer makes more money if the case drags on for longer. Your doctor makes more money if you're sick for longer. Your IT services provider makes more money if your project runs longer. I could go on. There are trillion-dollar industries today built on this inefficiency economy where people make more money if things go on for longer. AI is going to end this charade, folks. We will move to an outcome economy. The longer they take, the more money they make is the charade that will break. Because AI doesn't bill hours, AI gives you outcomes. If AI can draft your legal document in 30 seconds, your lawyer will not be able to bill you by the hour. And we'll move to this world of microtransactions, and this is where the next generation of SaaS businesses are being built. The India flywheel, and Satya spoke about this. India has got the largest infrastructure build-out happening, tracks before trains. We're laying the AI infrastructure in the country, and we're diffusing AI across classrooms to boardrooms. 92% of knowledge workers in India are using AI. 60% of our schools are using AI. But from farms to finance, from classrooms to boardrooms, India is diffusing AI. And that's where I think this flywheel of building infrastructure and diffusing AI is starting to spin. And that's why we are so optimistic on where this is headed. The last thing, and this is the question I get the most, what's going to happen to jobs? I'm sure you're all thinking about this. Will AI steal jobs? I don't think AI will steal jobs. It will dissect jobs. It will unbundle jobs. Your job is a bundle of tasks. My job is a bundle of tasks. AI will unbundle it. And when AI unbundles your role and my role, we'll have to bundle ourselves much better. We'll have to bundle ourselves much better. But we're still living with this industrial age era template of learn once and live forever and make money. My grandfather did it, my father did it, I'm almost doing it. That industrial age era template is breaking, folks. You and I are the last generation to have stable long-term careers. My kids for sure will have a portfolio of things that they'll do, and the next generation for all of you will do the same. The real pink slip in this new AI era is not automation. That's what we're all worried about. The real pink slip is refusal to learn. And if you're refusing to learn today on AI, and that's why I said this is the only oxygen mask for all of us, folks. And I come from Delhi, I know the value of oxygen masks. But on a serious note, folks, this is guerrilla warfare against irrelevance every day. Learning AI is guerrilla warfare, so if you're not learning, if there's one thing I can leave you today, start learning. And that's why Satya spoke about our commitment to train 20 million people in India on AI by 2030. You better make sure you're skilling up and you're learning AI. So those are my 5 predictions. A little bit about being frontier, and Satya spoke about frontier models. I'm going to talk to you about frontier companies or frontier businesses. What are frontier businesses? They're like frontier models. Always improving, always getting better, human-led, agent-operated, buying intelligence on tap like I spoke, and then compounding it. They put AI at the center of everything. And based on the thousands of companies that we have the privilege of working who are building AI at scale in India and globally, we have some pattern recognition on where AI is being built. And these are the 4 areas where we're seeing the most impact, folks. First, really thinking about employee experiences end-to-end. Hire the best talent, give them the right skill sets, give them the right tool sets, measure their performance. Second, customer experience, truly reinventing it. The N is equal to 1 for customers is now possible. And these people are ruthlessly focusing on customer engagement. I'll give you some stories on this. Reshaping business processes. You can't take your old process and put AI on it and expect magic. You have to replumb it left to right. And then finally, truly bending the curve on innovation. Let me give you some examples. And Apollo Hospitals building a clinician co-pilot to make sure young doctors, young clinicians have as much expertise and judgment like experienced doctors. Air India reinventing the entire customer experience journey. AI.G, their bot will do your tickets and your bookings and your check-ins and your upgrades. ICICI Lombard moving from a digital first to an AI-led company. Asian Paints transforming how you think about color, design, home experiences. I could go on, folks, but there are many businesses in India, and we're publishing a book called Frontier Firms with 60 hero stories, and I'd love for you guys to read the digital copy, so we'll make sure you get one. And for across all of these cases, all of these stories, one thing is common, which is they're putting human ambition at the center of everything they do. They're truly democratizing intelligence. Going back to my point around we're manufacturing intelligence now for the first time, but they're putting that in the center of it. And we as Microsoft are bringing our solutions across the board to make it happen. So let me bring this to a close, folks, and I'll leave you with 3 ideas, 3 actions as you go back to work after this today or tomorrow. The intelligence revolution is in motion, folks. It's in full motion now. It's in full flight. It'll impact every business, every function, every role, yours and mine. Think about how you're going to rewire your business. Think about digital colleagues. Think about becoming an agent boss. Thinking about getting AI to work for you. And these frontier firms are like time machines. They're telling you the future. And if they're doing this, this is where we're headed. Microsoft is truly becoming the home for India to build AI. And we are so privileged and humble about this. And this is something that we get back to work for every day. From private companies to businesses to government to education, across the board, we're building AI. Partner with us. We'd love to find a way. And then finally, the last thing, folks. AI skilling is the new literacy for all of us. This is the only oxygen mask. Learn with AI, build with AI, get AI to work for you. And by the way, learning AI is not like doing a PhD, or it's about taking this fear out. It's about working at it every day. It's like you can't get fit by watching others go to the gym. You can't learn AI by watching others play around with this. You have to go to the gym yourself every day. Believe me, I've tried sitting outside the gym, doesn't help. It's full contact sport, guys. It's guerrilla warfare every day against irrelevance. So please get on this and learn every day. So I'll end where I started, folks. We're living through a moment of reset. The world is rearranging itself. It's rebooting itself. It looks unfamiliar. A new map is being formed across the world, folks. And this map doesn't care about where goods are produced or where value is produced. It only cares about where intelligence is produced and where intelligence is diffused through AI. And in this rearrangement of this world lies the biggest opportunity for all of us. For all of you, for me, for each one of you, for India, our digital destiny is being rewritten. Our destinies are being rewritten. And this is where the real opportunity for us is, folks. The future is already here. There's never been a better time to build with AI. You've got a PhD level researcher, a PhD level consultant, a PhD level lawyer, doctor sitting in your pocket. And once AI moves from a tool on your phone to being a teammate to a digital colleague, that's where the unlock will happen. Okay, so there's never been a better time to build. Don't wait, get started now. You are the frontier. You are the future. Let's build. Thank you.
This concludes the keynote session. Breakouts will begin at 11:25 a.m.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be back in India and here in Mumbai and have a chance this morning to talk about AI and mostly to celebrate all the AI and the AI solutions that are being built by people in this country, in this state, and everywhere. And it's just exciting to be able to come back and see the progress, even year on year, that I see in action. To us, it's always about empowering people and organizations. So when we talk about even new technology platforms, it comes down to how is it being really used to empower an institution, an organization. I'm going to talk about, in fact, Crime OS that the Chief Minister was here, really sponsored and made happen in this state so that even every citizen of this state can benefit. And that's the type of innovation we want to see